couple of updates that I've seen that I want to make you guys aware of in the ever-changing, fast-moving AI space. It seems like things are changing every single day. And if you feel like that, if you feel like it's a hard time keeping up, you're not alone. I saw a stat the other day in the past 52 days, Claude, which is Anthropic's model, has released 50 new features. So 50 features in 52 days. So literally almost something every single day. And that's only out of one of the companies. But in today's call, I'm actually going to talk about a couple of changes that I've seen with AI. But I kind of want to go back to some business basics that have actually came up out of a couple of phone calls that I've had this week that I think are important for me to share with you and remind you. So David Reed said, not enough coffee to keep up with all these changes. Yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. So couple things that we're seeing. One, I saw yesterday that Zucks is now moved his office into their AI lab. So he is literally sitting shoulder to shoulder with their AI developers. If you guys didn't see, he shut down the metaverse. I think it was billions of dollars, 52 billion or something that they spent on that. Completely flushed it. They're going away from that. They're going all in on AI and wearables, which is pretty powerful. The other thing that you guys may have seen this week is Claude had a new model, Mythos, that found some insecurities in, and not like personal insecurities, but security issues inside of some like native long-term living softwares. One of them had been around. It's called FFPMG. It's been around for like 14 years. It was supposed to be like one of the most secure open source softwares that's out there. It found multiple issues, security flaws, and then also wrote the code to fix those said security flaws, which I think was pretty crazy. This is the model that they have said is too dangerous for them to release. However, good news is we got early access to it, so we're playing around with that. You have to API into it through Amazon Bedrock, but we're playing around with some of those things, which are pretty cool. The other piece that I think is important for you guys to see is that Elon has also announced that he is launching his own chips. So not potato chips, but AI chips. And it further aligns with, I think, that guy just being a front runner. So, Paige, I see you're on here. I know you're a big fan of Grok. And also Amy on our team, who is our lead designer now, she uses Grok for a ton of image generation and content creation. So it's pretty cool. Definitely check that out if you guys haven't. But going back to business basics, I wanted to bring up a couple of things that I think are important that you guys should keep at the forefront of your brains as business owners, as people that are leading initiatives inside of businesses. And this is a lesson that unfortunately took me far too long to understand and realize. And my team's in here, they can probably even call me out on this, that oftentimes they have to remind me that I try to push too much through in a limited amount of time. So I'll tell you a quick story. Bezos had a meeting with Andy Jassy, who runs AWS for him as the kind of the CEO. And he sat down and he drew out on the whiteboard. He's like, here's all like my crazy ideas that I've got for AWS. And Andy Jassy said, dude, you have enough ideas to bankrupt the company. And what that meant is that if we chase too many rabbits, we catch none, right? That age-old proverb that we've all heard. I think that is super important to bring up in today's call and to reiterate that if you are driving quarterly initiatives, it's very important that as the founder, as the entrepreneur, the person that leads the vision or leads these initiatives, oftentimes we can look at our steady state that we're in, right? All of the systems we use, all the processes that we have in place right now, and we can look at those and we can say, hey, if we made this change, I think that we would get a lift of 5%, 10%, right? And so for demonstration purposes, here we are just trucking along at 65% efficiency, right? And we say, hey, man, we could really get to 75%, this 10% lift, right? But oftentimes what we forget about is the cost of change. And so if you have a system that's operating at 65% and you want to change that system, there is going to be a downturn in efficiency as you're trying to make the change, okay? I've seen this in my business. I've done it. Amanda and Nick are probably snickering under their breath right now because they're thinking of a couple of situations where this has happened, where I've basically tried to change too much, too fast, or too often. And I think that happens a lot in small businesses. And so I wanted to bring that up because typically what will happen is while we go and try to chase the increase of 5, 10, 15, 20% that we think would happen with the change in the business, there is almost a guaranteed drop of 15 to 20% that is going to happen during this change. We're also going to be at that drop for a stated time before we can even get back to where we were before we even started changing shit, right? In hopes that we eventually gain that efficiency gain on the backside. And so I think it's important for us to all keep that in mind with all of the AI, all the changes, everything that's coming to the marketplace right now. It's definitely moving faster than ever before. And so I would just caution you before you go ripping off Band-Aids and thinking like, hey, we can put this new Band-Aid on. Be careful that you don't cause an infection before you get the new Band-Aid on, okay? Super important. David, I did see there Allbirds. If you guys didn't see that, that was 2 days ago, yesterday, day before yesterday. Allbirds, the shoe company, just raised, I want to say it was maybe a $50 million round. Let's see, Allbirds raises round. This was pretty crazy. If you guys aren't, it's a $50 million convertible note that they raised. If you're not familiar, Allbirds is a shoe company, but they just raised $50 million to now become a compute as a service. They're going to basically try to go compete with CoreWeave or NVIDIA. I don't know how you pivot from being a shoe company to an AI company. It was hard enough for us to go from like a traditional social media marketing agency over to Alley. It took us multiple years to do it, but pretty crazy, right? It's David said it's crazy, absolutely. Because here's the thing, guys, is this is a prime example of that, of like trying to just chase what's hot and what's new. Is there are going to be inefficiencies that come out of that for them. It'll be inefficiencies that will come out of it from you if you try to make changes. Now, I don't say that to alarm you or to scare you away from making changes. Okay, that's not the objective here. But I do think that it is very important that you guys recognize that changing anything inside of your business, there will almost always be guaranteed a downturn for a while before we even make it back to the, whatever that state, alpha, beta, gamma, whatever they call that, right? The state we were in before we even see the outsized change. And so I'm just caution you before you go throwing grenades into your business to be mindful of that because it is something that's super important. Linda, one of my business coaches, taught me this. I remember the first time she taught me and the team how to do strategic planning. We were operating with no strategic plan. The strategic plan was like, go get more customers. That was the strategic plan. And I think there is a time and a place for that in every business. However, if you're going to have a strategic plan, don't do what I did in the first one, which was like list out 20 objectives that we were going to try to chase in a quarter. Really 1 to 2 big things is what you want to tackle in a 90-day sequence. And then all of you guys should be running what I call 90-day sprints, right? You set the plan, you put your head down, you grind for 90 days, and then you look up, you reevaluate, you reset the next plan for the next 90 days. Okay. That's how businesses ran. That's not like a Coach Carrollism. Like that's just how the best companies in the world are ran. And I think that it was important for me as the last couple months that I've had these coaching calls, it's all been super AI. I'm giving you guys all these new tools, Nano Banana this and VEO3 that. And did you see about this new model and that new model? And it can become overwhelming. And so I just want to tell you to, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Okay. That's super important. It is super valuable for you guys to hear me on that and for you to drive the initiatives inside of your business that way. Secondly, I wanted to touch on the fact that disruption is coming. Okay. So like we see all these reports, we understand that businesses are changing, but here's the thing. If you're in a white collar business right now, lots of those jobs are going to go away. If you're in a blue collar job right now or a business right now, understand that you're going to have more competition over the next decade because as people lose their jobs, they'll default into blue collar services and they'll try to bring those services to market, right? So you're going to have more competition. And this is why I go back to what I've been saying for the past decade, which is you have to build a brand, okay? You need to be building a personal brand on the local level. Doesn't matter if you're the owner, a team member, you should be building your personal brand. What do people know you for in your local market? Okay. And you need to have all out warfare on that, right? That's where social media comes in. That's why we encourage you guys to make content. Like, can we make content for you? Yes. Is it way better than what it used to be? Absolutely. Like AI is revolutionized the ability to make content remotely. However, it doesn't take away from the fact that you still need to be creating your own personal brand. So this is I guess you could theme today's call as taking you guys back to Pookie in the Sandbox, right? It's the 1.0 version stuff that I've been talking about for a decade, which is build your personal brand, have your social media presence working for you, not against you. And then secondly is like engage with your team. Have your team helping you make content. Have your team getting on videos for you. If you have multiple team members, like you should have them added to your Facebook page, your Instagram account, so they can make content and post for you, right? You don't have to do all the lifting yourself. So that was another big point that I wanted to talk on. I'll kind of pivot over to AI for a second because there's some really cool stuff that's happening with Claude Code and Claude Cowork. Over the past month and a half, we've worked to get our entire team on Claude Cowork or using Claude Code. And what's really neat about that is we're seeing some team members build some really cool shit. And even if they're not building stuff, they're using AI to automate that process. So one example I'll give you actually came from Amanda yesterday, who a lot of you guys have communicated with. We needed to get all of the email lists that we had in one of our softwares out, right? Because we're going to be putting that into a database. So instead of Amanda going through and manually like copy and pasting people into an Excel spreadsheet or, hitting the export button and like hoping that it works or that it takes forever, Amanda was able to use Claude Cowork to basically run a system that would do that labor for them. And if you guys remember from my Access, Attention, AI framework, right, the 3 circles, Access was the internet, attention was social media, and now AI is the big player. Access, right, the internet, that was information. Social media was communication, but AI can actually do the work in your business. And so my challenge to you is before we meet again in another 30 days, right, in May, I would ask you to look at something that you do over and over and over and over again in your business, because that is the perfect thing to hand off to AI. When there's a lot of edge cases, when there's a lot of scenarios where, well, I don't know, DJ, sometimes it's this way, sometimes it's that way. That's not really the best thing in the world to automate, nor use agentic AI for. But the best thing that you can do is something that is repetitive over and over and over and over again, because AI can buy you your time back. Okay, like we're seeing massive efficiency gains utilizing AI across the company. Tasks that used to take 3 weeks now are taking 3 days, or maybe even 3 hours. Okay, and so like, while you see things like David's talking about with Allbirds, switching from a shoe company to an AI company, yes, that's fucking crazy. However, the lift that you guys can get with AI is real. Okay, there's a real efficiency with that. And so, Eddie, I think I saw you raise your hand. You got a quick question, man?
Yeah. Hey, DJ.
What's up, man?
You mentioned personal brand. Does that mean like me, individual as a person, or if I started multi-man services 12 years ago, pretty vague, is that good enough as a personal brand?
Yeah, so good question. I call it a personal brand because there has to be a person attached to it. Now, I'll say that with an asterisk. You guys might notice something. I'll use our own product as a use case. We didn't call Allie, like the AI voice receptionist, a new service offered by Carroll Media, right? No, because I knew that in the future, I knew this in my heart of hearts. And like, if you guys could have been at the table with Amanda and Nick and Andy and some of our other team members, when I came to them and I was like, guys, I got it. In the future, there's going to be AI employees. And so like our AI tool, like it was modern marketing for agents.ai, like that all is going away. We're going to make Allie. Allie's going to be the thing. Allie's going to have an image. Allie's going to have a voice. Like Allie will be her own personal brand. The product will have its own personal brand attached to it. Some other examples of this in real life is Tony the Tiger, right? And without Tony the Tiger, Frosted Flakes are nothing more than sugar-coated corn cereal, right? Imagine if the box said sugar-coated corn cereal. Like, probably wouldn't buy that. But because Tony the Tiger says they're great, that's a personal brand, right? It just happens to be Tony the Tiger, who's a cartoon character. And so, Eddie, to answer your question more directly, yes, if you don't want to be the face of the brand because you don't want that key man risk, then you need to have something, right? And if it's like Minutemen, maybe your mascot becomes a clock, right? Maybe it's like an old school alarm clock with two bells, like little bells on the top or something. And then you use VEO3, like you create an image and then use VEO3 to then make that a video so that you can create content with them. We do this with Allie. We've got hundreds of ads that are running right now that have Allie's face depicted on it in different scenarios. Last month, I showed you guys where I did the photo shoot with her, where she like did different lifestyle photos. So I would tell you, if you can do the content, if you can be the personal brand, do it. If you're still talking to the customer, if you want it to be infinitely scalable, if that is the goal, which is not the goal for everybody, and it's totally fine. You guys know this. I say do what makes you happy. Start there first. That would be the caveat, right? It's like if Eddie doesn't want to make the content, you don't want to be the face of the brand, then we've got to have a mascot, because there has to be some type of persona attached to your business in order to create that like that symbolic representation so that those people will remember it.
Okay, thank you. Can I clarify that question a little bit?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So multi-man services, it morphed from a handyman service, then to gutter cleaning, house washing. Then we added roof cleaning, tune-ups, and rejuvenation. So now we're like an entire exterior asset property management system. Like we don't focus on any low-paying stuff, like get rid of dry cleaning, get rid of window cleaning. We only focus on maintaining the shell of your home and making it look good.
Okay.
So then I recently partnered with the roofing company. They have their own roofing name. So I'm going to be the maintenance division of their roofing brand.
Cool.
But then I watched this podcast and somebody's like, you got to start a media company. You know, you got to start a media company. I'm like, what the crap is a media company? And so I thought about it and I made up this name called Roof Fit Labs. Like, okay, so how fit is your roof? There's lots of different ways to play on that. So now I'm starting too many things and I'm straddling too many horses.
Yep.
And then I'm like, well, now I'm divided. I'm like, what the crap's a brand? I'm so confused.
Yeah. I think what that whoever that podcaster was, that what they meant was you have to have a media component inside of your business. Because if you go back 25 years ago, you didn't need media assets because there wasn't anywhere to fucking put them, right? Like maybe on the news if you were running television commercials. But other than that, like what media did you need outside of like your postcard that you're sending out or your business card or a flyer or maybe a banner, right? Like, and you certainly didn't need to start a media company because you're not producing a new banner every single week to hang out, right? But because the market has shifted and now we have Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, like pick your poison, TikTok, Reddit, right? Like I think that is probably what that podcaster without having context was probably alluding to, is that you have to create content. One, because it's a great way to build trust with people. I'll tell you guys, I just had a call with a guy that has 5 franchise locations in Texas of a service business. And he was like, dude, since we talked last week on the discovery call, that today was his conclusion call, he was like, tell me more about that Coach Carroll thing. Cause like I found your YouTube channel. I watched some of your long form videos. They were pretty cool. Like read some of your blog posts. Like it got him interested about me, right? Because I had a brand for him to then attach to. Now listen, like if you're, pro big government, you love to pay taxes, you don't believe in liberty in the Constitution, like I'm going to turn you off pretty fucking quick, right? Because those are like some core principles of my brand, because by and large, most small business owners are going to side with my belief system. Is like, I don't think I should have to give half of my money to the government, right? Those are things that I talk about. Those are brand pillars for me. And so your brand, while it's good to attract people, it's just as powerful to push people away, right? That aren't a good fit for you. That it becomes a filtering mechanism. Think about Alex Hermosi, okay? If you're a stay-at-home mom that enjoys gardening and homeschooling and you don't have a business, and Alex Hermosi pops up on your screen, you're going to watch him for 30 seconds and you're going to be like, this ain't the dude for me, right? And so he's done that on purpose. And I think for your brand, Eddie, I think you don't need a whole media company. You don't need, because you're exactly right. You're trying to run too many races. Focus on the service that you have, but then like just let's reiterate and dive down on what our core pillars are now, right? I think there is some brand messaging in there that you talked about, right? Which is like, hey, if it's the shell of your home, like, cool, right? I know for Easy Pro, my exterior cleaning company I still have, like, we talk about cleaning and securing the greatest assets in the Midwest and Southeast, right? Like, we want to make sure they're cleaned and secured. Secured means that like mold, mildew, and algae isn't deteriorating the exterior surface, right? So it's like that's a brand pillar for us. That's a tagline, if you will. We also have make life easy, call a pro. That's another brand pillar. It's like, we're professional, we're not the cheapest, but if you want to make your life easy, you call the pros. If you want to save money, you call two chucks in a truck, right? Same thing for like, I know I've got some insurance clients on here. Like, I just did a coaching call this morning with an office, and I told them, I said, if somebody comes in and wants to just write monoline auto policy, part of your guys' sales pitch should be like, oh, I might get in trouble if I just quote your monoline auto, because like, we don't really do that. That's not like part of our business model. We really want to protect all of your assets. Let me do this. I'll go ahead and do that if you're also okay with me going ahead and like giving you a quote on what it would look like to protect everything. Is that fair enough? And now it's like, oh shit, I don't want this person to get in trouble. Like, sure. Or they go, no, I only want monoline. They get up and they walk. And it's like, fine, because you probably were going to go shop your insurance next 6 months, next 6 months, next 6 months, next 6 months, right? So I think by understanding who your customers are, and more importantly, who your customers are not, that plays into the overall brand picture as well, right, Eddie? Like, you're saying you don't do small jobs anymore. Okay, well, you probably also don't do small houses, right? Like, you have a minimum price, which is going to get rid of a lot of those customers that aren't good fits. All of that ties into who your brand is. I've also heard it said this way, is that your brand is what people say about you when you're no longer in the room, right? Like, what kind of brand do you have when you're not in the room? Does it speak positively or not so much? Does that help?
It does, but it still gets me confused as to where to focus my energies, because dividing, removing myself from the field as operations, fulfillment, and now I got guys to do that, and I'm focusing on being a marketing and sales company.
Yeah.
So you kind of struck a chord there when you said, who am I when the door's closed and I'm not in the room? So today it was just a fiasco. We had two houses to wash, and we just got done leaving the jobs. Just started there at 9 o'clock, and it's like, we should have been. It's just so many problems, and it all comes down to bad training and bad setup, and so.
Yeah. I think if you're saying, hey, I'm a sales and marketing organization, which I like, most companies should be, that should be the MO, right? Is most service businesses that I work with are in this capacity, right? If you're a State Farm agent, you're a sales and marketing organization. Like, you don't handle underwriting, you don't handle claims like you do from a customer service side of things, but like, all that's done by corporate, right? Same thing, Eddie. Like, you're in the trades. So it's like, yes, the owner should get out of the field as fast as possible, and you should work on closing deals and getting brand awareness around you. I've said this for years. I'll say it until I'm probably dead. The biggest problem that small businesses, medium-sized businesses have is not enough people know who you are and what you sell, right? Because
Obscurity.
like, because it's like, if people knew who you were and what you sold, you would not have a demand constraint. You would then have a supply constraint, which is like, dude, we got more work than we can even know. Like, if Maria's telling me that, DJ, I got 90 people out the front door, they all want insurance policies. Like, cool, man, because what that's going to do, that gives you massive lead flow, which also means that you're not scared to raise your prices. Now, some of you guys don't control your pricing, so I understand that. But your salespeople also probably don't sell as many things as they could to the people that are sitting in front of you as well, because they're worried about just closing the deal that they've gotten sitting across the table from them, or across the table being Zoom or phone or whatever. But I think the big thing here is like understanding, Eddie, you bring up a good point, right? Is like, if you're going to be a sales and marketing organization, how much time should you spend? I think a large chunk of your time should be spent on getting brand awareness, closing deals if you're still in the sales seat. The other part of your time as the owner should be casting the vision and then driving company culture, right? Like, that to me is also huge. Look there, Meta's calling me. Um, I'm busy, Zucks. I'm busy. I think a lot of times the owners, they don't drive the company culture, and then like when you have the issues with your team members, um, almost always, I don't like definites, absolutes in business. Oftentimes are inaccurate, but most of the time, by and large, as Ray Dalio says, you can go back to your core values. My team will tell you, like, oftentimes that's why growth, innovation, velocity, and excellence. If someone's not executing on my team, oftentimes I can drive that all the way back to a core value. Right? I can say, hey, Mike, you're not growing as fast as you need to here. You're not picking things up as fast as you need to. Right? How can I improve your growth? What barriers can I remove from you? If it's a velocity thing, like, hey, we're just not moving fast enough in the right direction. I need you to pick the speed up. Like I make it very clear. Like, if I'm going to pay you, I'm not also going to babysit you. Right? Like, I don't run a daycare. I run a business. I need adults that are engaged, excited. We're in a hurry to help people. Right? Old Zig Ziglar line. And so, I think if you make sure that you have your core values tied in, that also goes back to your brand. Right? All of this stuff flows back into that brand ecosystem. For Allie, her brand is like, who inspires Allie? Like, I know she's not a real person, right? But still, who inspires Allie? And that's why we put in her brand document that, she has the pioneering spirit of an Amelia Earhart and the technical prowess of an Ada Lovelace. We also, because we're in Kentucky, so we say, she has the warm touch of your long lost Kentucky cousin that you haven't seen in a while, talks with her hands, but always has the answers to your messy problems, right? That's part of Allie's brand. That's her essence. And so I think if you look at your business, humanize it a little more and then really drill down on that. And then let's bring it all the way back to AI. Dude, fucking hop in Chat GPT, put that bad boy in voice mode and say, hey, what up, chat? I need you to help me on developing my brand. Ask me 50 questions that I could answer. And before you do that, here's my website URL. Go look at that so you know more about me if you don't already, and then come back and ask me those questions. It'll give you 50 questions. You keep that thing in voice mode. You answer all of those. And maybe sometimes you're like, damn, I don't know. I hadn't thought about this. Let me think about this for a second. That's totally okay. Pause it. Go back into it. Answer all 50 questions and then say, hey, chat, I want you to now build me a PDF document that has my brand essence. I need a brand blueprint, a brand guidebook, if you will, for my business. If you want to be real
brand tone.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you really want to be flashy, like, you give it your logo, say put this on the cover, right? And then what's done is like you actually have a document that like guides your brand. And I think that's so powerful. Eddie, I'm glad you asked the question because I wanted to make sure today's call was like back to sales, back to marketing, because that's what all these calls used to be. And like we've gotten so far into AI because like, let's face it, man. Like, if I would be doing a disservice to you guys if this was 2004 and I wasn't telling you anything about the internet, right? And so like I think it's important that I tell you about the things that are coming with AI and that are super powerful, but also like the basics of business are the same basics of business that they've been for 100 years, right? We've just got to adapt to the changing in times. Good stuff, Eddie. Cool, guys. Who else got a question for me? David, you always got some really good stuff to kick in. Charlie, I see you're on here. Also, I see Michael's on here. All right, Eddie said he'll go again. Let's do it, Eddie. We'll keep it flowing, man.
Back to the sales and marketing organization. Back to basics of a business. You got W-9 laborers and you got W-2 laborers. So in the event that we go down the road of building a company off of W-9 laborers, I'm going down the road right now today of building out all different types of subcontractor agreements, refining all of that, renting out the equipments. And, if I was netting as an owner operator 45 to 50% of my company, I ain't going to net that much moving forward now that I'm just going to be stuck in the office taking phone calls and selling jobs. I might be lucky to get 30 or 20%.
That's a self-limiting belief. Because
so.
because if you have more deal flow, you can increase your prices. So that will pad margin. The other piece is that if you truly have all subcontractors in the business, you don't have some of the overhead that you are currently carrying, right? Like if if you're not having to maintain equipment, if you're not having to maintain the same levels of insurance, right? Because
Okay.
ideally by law, then you're going to have to also get, um, you're also going to have to get, uh, there are certain thresholds and requirements. So I would tell you, like, definitely get with like a tax advisor and legal advisor. You can use ChatGPT and say, hey, what's the IRS requirements for a contractor? Because there are certain things that have to be lined out. You're doing this already: contractor agreements, renting equipment, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, that's a business model decision, but don't limit your belief on like how much you can make. That's
Yeah, you jumped on that right away. I get that. And
because that's
you're true.
80% of the problem for entrepreneurs, dude. Like
You're
because
true.
we can see a world that doesn't exist yet. Well, then we just think that like that vision is always right. And I'm here to tell you most of the fucking time it's not, right? And so like that's where the self-limiting beliefs can come in, right? And I'll tell you guys a perfect story of this. This is a very fitting. Justin, who works for me in one of my companies, is a sales guy. He had never written down goals before in his life. And so I said, hey, Justin, I want you to write down quarterly goals and annual goals. And he's like, dude, I've never done that before. So I have a cheat sheet. If you guys want it, you go to coachcarroll.com/goals, maybe. Amanda, I don't know if you can check that, if that page pulls up. If it does, then we can drop it in the chat. But I have a goal action planner, like a sheet that you can actually fill out to write down your goals. So check this out. One of the goals that Justin wrote down was that he wanted to close a $50,000 project. And he was like, dude, like if I can do that, holy smokes. And part of setting goals is like, what's the reward and what's the consequence? So the reward was him and his best friend were going to go on a golf trip if he closed a 50K gig, right? The consequence was no golf trip, right? Which sucks. And so he was like, when I wrote that down, he's like, I didn't think that like this would even be achievable. I didn't think it would happen. And I'm excited to say last night he got approval on a $59,000 project. And he was like, holy smokes, man. And I told him, I said, this is why we write down our goals and this is why we commit them to the universe and we tell other people about them, right? Timid salespeople have skinny kids, right? So like you got to share your goals with your friends, your family members, strangers, right? Like put it out into the universe because it's super powerful. And oftentimes salespeople will not achieve the level of success they want because one, they either sell with their own wallet, right? Like, no way I would pay $1,000 for this thing. No way I would pay $10,000 for this thing. And it's like there are people out there that make a lot of money that will buy that thing for $1,000 or $10,000, right? If that weren't the case, there wouldn't be this little old car company called Bugatti. Okay, like you can charge more, you can make more. A lot of times it's self-limiting beliefs. So David says hiring has been biggest challenge, but I finally found a few sales agents. Cool, got some good salespeople. Make sure you love on them. Make sure you're training them. Also, make sure this is the important one. Make sure that you're doing heading adjustments. Meet with your team members once a month and ask them the heading adjustment questions of like, hey, what's your path look like? Are there any barriers or roadblocks that I need to remove from you? And then I like to add our core values, like talk to me about your velocity, talk to me about your growth. Where did you innovate? What core value did you exemplify in the last month, right? David, if you found good ones, love on them, nurture them, take care of them, and encourage them and get them in a place where if they have roadblocks or barriers, they come to you, and your job is to remove those so they can continue to excel. So looks like Charlie says, how do I get, said Ellie, but I'm guessing you're saying Allie. Allie to indicate that we do have a lunch hour from 12:30 to 1:30, indicating our office hours. I would also like to have something more personal for the weekends. Um, so we can adjust her prompt for you. Just so you guys have context, Charlie's got Allie answering his phones. Um, that's a super simple fix for us to put the lunch hours in there, and then if there's something more personal, Nick, what's the best thing here for him just to kind of line that out in his workspace, or what's the best move here to get Charlie squared away?
Yeah, just shoot a message in the ongoing support and then line out what you want us to put in there, and then we can have the team hop on it.
Sweet, sweet, thanks, man. Cool. Yeah. And then Amanda dropped the link there. So it's coachcarroll.com/learn. And then the goal setting assets is all the way down at the bottom. So cool, cool, cool. All right. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Sweet. All right. Anything else? Any other questions you guys have? These are always like my most favorite calls that I do, probably throughout the month, just because they're gonna get in here, be Coach Carroll, help you guys out, and it's actionable stuff that you can take away, right? So
Hey, coach, I think it might be important to explain, like with Claude, the connections they can make that makes life a lot easier. Because I know that's what I've been learning is like the more I can connect, the things that I use like Stripe or Google Drive or Gmail, all of those things like can be connected, which makes using Claude so much easier.
yep.
So I don't know if you have like a brief synopsis or explanation of that. I think that would be helpful with people that are just learning how to use Claude.
For sure. Let me see if I can get a little fancy here with you guys and use the whiteboard. Ooh, looky here. When we have an AI agent that is working, right? So whether this be Claude, Chat GPT, what have you, pick your flavor of the month. This thing is trained on a lot of information, right? We'll just call that the information of the internet. Oh, wow. You guys can hop in here too. That's fun. And so what Amanda is talking about is either through MCP servers, which is a term that you guys can go do some research on, or an API. This is way harder to draw with the mouse than I thought. If you can connect this AI agent with other tools or software, right? So, like Amanda's saying, Google or Stripe or what have you. Now, again, State Farm agents, like you're going to be locked out of anything corporate. Allstate's probably going to be the same way. But if you guys are using third party tools, right? If you're doing stuff in Google Workspace, using Google Calendar, anything like that, then what you can do is you now can connect these things, right? And so this is my terrible illustration of a calendar. You also can have like documents, right? And so a really cool tool that you guys could write down that I like is called Miro. It's a Miro board. And I don't know if it's 1R or 2Rs, but it's where you guys can kind of do like this in a canvas and you kind of float around and have your workflows and things like that drawn out, which are really, really cool. There you go, Amanda. Put that in there, Miro board. And then an MCP is kind of new. Claude came up with this, and it's basically just a more efficient way to use an API because a lot of these agents will do a lot of API calls, which gets super technical heavy. Here's the thing: is that imagine a team member. Okay, so like David, I'll take you. You got this great salesperson, but you didn't give them your CRM. You didn't give them a phone. You didn't give them text messaging capability. And you're like, hey, go sell insurance, right? Versus giving them the tools, either MCP or API, right? So you could say for a human, this would be like through their mobile device or through their laptop, having access to other things. And then also information. So if you guys have documents that are like your standard operating procedures, right? That also is super, super helpful. This is why I tell you guys, like I just told Eddie, like build a brand document. Now that you have the brand document, you can put that inside of a folder or inside of a project so that the AI models have more context around what you're doing. Because remember, there is a framework for this. Terrible triangle.
Hey, DJ,
Yep.
When you get a minute, could I try to clarify what you just explained?
Yeah, man. Go ahead while I'm
I,
drawing this
I,
out.
so the smiley face guy is either GPT or Claude, correct?
You name it. Yep. You pick your flavor.
And then I'm not understanding what the API and the MCP is.
Yeah. So that is the ability for it to connect. Context. So this is prompt.
So just as a little bit of context, I've
Yeah.
been really struggling with like AI overload. Like I have
Yeah. Well,
files and
welcome to
chats.
yeah. Welcome to AI Anonymous. Like that's all of
I'm
us,
like,
dude,
holy
right
crap,
now.
I can't find like 2 months ago I had an amazing chat. Where the hell is it? It's gone.
Yeah.
So and then AI explained it to me. They said that, a GPT is basically a factory line. And if you don't take that product off of the assembly line and put it into a warehouse properly and filed away appropriately, And
Yep.
so what you're drawing here is kind of making sense, but I'm still confused on what the MCP and the API is.
Yep. Cool. So checks in the mail, dude, because that was a perfect way to tabulate this up. So the prompt is what we're all used to. It's writing, texting, chatting back and forth with the thing. We can all agree that the models can write better than humans. Okay. That's why before you guys send emails, you're running them through ChatGPT and you're saying, hey, make this sound more professional. Hey, I was super pissed when I wrote this. Take the tonality down, right? That is the writing piece. And you're absolutely right that what happens is over time, even if you can find that chat, sometimes they lose out because they have very small context windows. Think of it as context being short-term memory and memory being long-term memory. And so then what we can do is if you have a really good chat, right? You've had a long thread where you're talking about it. What you can do is you can say, man, great job, ChatGPT. You did awesome on this. Thanks for helping me kind of like mentally map through this. If you could go ahead and give me, and I'll write these down so that you have them. In ChatGPT, it's called a canvas. And in Claude, it's called an artifact. And I think it would actually probably be even more helpful if I just show you guys this in real time.
As fast as Claude is moving, is it even wise for us to even start playing with it if we're used to GPT or Gemini?
So it depends on what you're going to be using it for, honestly, Eddie. Like day-to-day use cases, ChatGPT is perfectly fine. There's a philosophical side of me that likes Anthropic. I've got a video dropping on my YouTube channel today where I break down a little bit of the reasoning why on that. But for me, Claude gives me a better product to build with, right? Like when I'm in the command terminal. So if I'm writing code, which I don't know how to do, but AI helps me write code, right?
So if I wanted to rewrite a subcontractor agreement or a rental agreement, we're talking about GPT all day long.
They can do that all day long, dude. You guys have to remember that my book, right, The Hunter Head Game, half of those chapters were edited with ChatGPT. Now, here's the difference. If you're on a free plan, you'll notice down here in the corner it says Pro, right? Up here, I can put this in Pro Research Grade Intelligence. So if I'm writing a contract, if I'm editing a contractor agreement or a lease agreement, I want this thing to be in Pro mode. And then I'm probably even going to put this, let's see here.
It's the top left, thinking mode, top left. Yeah, right there, thinking mode.
Yeah, so like, but that's what I'm saying. On the like $20 a month, you guys may have instant and thinking. Pro is like the high level. This thing will reason for maybe here's where I was looking for extended. So this is thinking even longer. Okay, so if I uploaded a document, I would hit this plus sign. I would put this document inside of here, and I would say, let's write a subcontractor agreement for my company of guys that will be doing work that I subcontract to. And I want you to write this to the latest laws in Kentucky. And I want you to play the role of a high level attorney that does business contract law. Your output should be in a canvas so that you and I can edit it together. And lastly, ask me any questions that you need me to answer before moving forward. But let's keep this very generalized. Don't get into the weeds. And then so what this thing is going to do, like it's not going to like it's going to run past this call. We're 3 minutes and we're 3:46. So this thing will think like a lot. A lot of times you can view files in chat. A lot of times it'll like pop out here. Yeah. So here's what this is doing. Okay. The user wants. So if I click on this, this is going to show me the model thinking through the prompt that I'm just giving it. Right. So it's like it's telling me all these things that it's going to think through in order to give me the best response possible. Okay. So where a lot of times if you guys are taking projects, jobs, things that you want to do with AI, you're taking them to AI and you're putting it in like instant response mode. Well, the model then is subset to give you a fast response, right? Because you don't want to sit here for 16 minutes while this thing cranks through. But if you put it in pro model, like this is the $200 a month plan, but I highly encourage, I think it's worth it. You need to have a high paid plan for what, like whichever model you're using. Because now look what it's doing, right? It's doing a lot of research. It's like, all right, cool. I'm clarifying some legal points. I'm searching for relevant statutes. It's going to keep thinking, right? And then so while that thing's cooking, let me show you guys projects, legal contract. And so now inside of here, right, there's sources. And this is where I can drop documentation. So I could put a subcontractor agreement that I already have in here, right? I could maybe find a subcontractor agreement that I've signed with somebody else in the past. And I'm like, man, that's super powerful. I actually like that one better. I would put this one in here as well. So now it has context. It can index off of those documents that are inside of there. And I think that's super, super powerful, because this is where we originally started on the whiteboard. Is you've had a really, really good chat that you've been cranking away and you don't want to lose it. Here's what you can do. You can go up here to these three little dots inside of ChatGPT, and you can move it to a project called legal contract. And now that chat stays inside of this project over here on the side.
That's really helpful. Can you slow down and show that again?
Yep. So you got to have the project first, but then when you're inside of the chat, you hit the three dots in the top corner, and you're going to move it to one of your contracts that you have. Move it to one of the projects that you have over here. And then what that does is these projects now allow you to keep everything inside of here. So if we go back to the drawing and we say there was the prompt and then there's context, I'm giving this AI agent, term used loosely, I'm giving it context because it will only understand the things that are inside of this individual group setting of legal contracts or whatever have you, right? Whatever the project is about. This allows you guys to organize your ChatGPT so that it's not just like a long running thread. I mean, I've been on ChatGPT since November of 2022. Like I've had a lot. You'll see stuff in here that's like, write me, what's the top Motown jazz song of the 1970s or 60s, right? And then the very next chat I have might say, hey, help me identify why my tomato plant has yellow leaves on the bottom, right? Like I use this thing all over the place. And so, but when I'm working on things like SMPS is a group that I just did a series of classes and presentations for, while I was working on putting my thoughts together, it was all inside of that one project. So it stays nested together. Now, let me hop back over here because this thing's cranking away. I'm going to go ahead and just tell it to give me the quick answer based on what it has. And what it should do is now open up a canvas. You see this here? It's like, all right, cool. I'll finish up. We're 4 minutes into this thing doing research to give me the best possible answer that it could give me, right? And so the idea is that this thing should pop up pretty quickly here. Need the Jeopardy music.
When you say context, essentially you're calling it a knowledge base.
Different. A knowledge base would be more in your memory. That's the long-term stuff that it can pull from. The context is like the short-term memory. That's the easiest analogy I can make with those is context windows will run out. Because like, dude, if I asked you like what you did last week, there's some high notes, but you're not going to remember everything. It's because you don't have a big enough context window to remember everything that you did last week, right? It's the same thing with here. But if I said, hey, Eddie, you had a meeting with one of your team members last week and you went over the employee handbook. What's on page 7 of the employee handbook? And you're like, dude, I don't have the context window. Remember? I did. I went over page 7 of the employee handbook, but like, I don't remember. But you have the document, meaning that it's in your memory. So you go, hold on a second. Let me just go pull the handbook up and I'll open up page 7 and I'll tell you what's on it. Oh, okay. That helps me remember now, right? This is probably one of the most difficult things for people that aren't really like in AI to grasp. However, I will tell you that it is also like one of the most powerful things to utilize with AI if you can wrap your head around it, right? Prompting, context, memory.
So prompting, context, and memory. So that's interesting.
Let me show you guys this canvas real quick. So like it's got a structure. Cool. Can you open up a canvas and put me a rough draft in there? I don't know why it's spelled cool like that, but all right. I've got this thing on extended. Let me put it on instant. Because I want to show you this because this is like a massive aha for a lot of people because they spend time copying and pasting out of Google documents and stuff. And so now, like, see how fast this was, right? Once I took this off and put it back on instant, look how quick this drafted this up, right? And so now what I can do is I can click edit. And now instead of me having it rewrite this entire thing, I can just say, section 4, expenses and equipment. I'll come over here, I'll copy and paste it. Actually, I won't even tell that. I'll see. In section 4 under expenses and equipment, could you expand on that and make it a little more detailed in information? So there it goes, right? In real time, it's in section 4 now, and it's writing more stuff for me, right? And so now what happens is this allows you guys to basically co-create a document with ChatGPT. It's still got me in here. It's still listening to me. This helps you guys co-create a document in real time. And then when we're done with it, we can share it, right? So we can do it this way. We can also copy it if we wanted to, or we can come outside of it and we can download it as well.
What was that prompt you gave it to start that document?
It's called a canvas. And so, I just said, hey, open up a canvas and put me a rough draft in there.
So what's the difference between a canvas and a PDF?
So the canvas is workable inside of here. Once I'm done with it, after I'm done working with ChatGPT inside of this, then I would say, okay, great. Give it to me as a PDF, right? And so then what happens is it's still thinking over here.
Yeah, a canvas allows for you to, it's not
to edit
Canva. It's not
no,
Canva.
Not Canva, Canvas. And so then that allows you to come in here and edit this. And then like I can edit it too, right? So like I can just delete this out, right? Or scope of work.
So you're literally editing within the chat.
Bingo. Yeah, which is like a massive time saver, because like the number of people that I show this to and they're like, because they're like, dude, I was copying and pasting from ChatGPT over into a Google Doc, and then like I would make changes, I'd have to copy and paste it back to ChatGPT. Massive freaking time saver here, where you can just edit real time with ChatGPT.
Thank you, DJ.
Yeah, man, absolutely. What do you guys? Let me know in the chat. Was that helpful? Hopefully, you guys got some good takeaways from that. And we got to wrap up because we're at the top of the hour. As always, guys, I'm here for you. You can email me, dj@coachcarroll.com. DJ@carroll.media. If you're a current client of ours inside of Allie, you can always reach out into the ongoing support. Charlie, please go in there. Data dump man inside of the ongoing support, just at Allie, so she'll see it and she can create the work order for us on the backside. But until next time, guys, this is always fun. Definitely one of the highlights of my month. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. We'll catch you in the next one.